of Asian stock markets. WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Hi everyone, welcome to WION Live broadcast from New York City. I'm your host, Susan Tehrani. First, as usual, we'll get you up to speed with this hour's headlines before we jump in to our first story. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi calls Taiwan's newly inaugurated president Lai Ching-te disgraceful and says that the separatists will be nailed to the pillar of shame in history. Meanwhile, the European Union formally approves using the profits from frozen Russian central bank assets to arm Ukraine as the U.S. presses for a more ambitious plan. Iranian officials and religious figures received the coffins of Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi and companions in Tehran. Qatar's foreign ministry says the Gaza ceasefire and hostage release talks between Israel and Hamas remain close to a stalemate. One person has been reported dead as Singapore Airlines plane makes emergency landing in Bangkok due to bad weather conditions. 30 passengers aboard reported injured. '14 World Cup winner with Germany and Real Madrid legend Toni Kroos will retire from all football after next month's European Championship. As Iran investigates President Ebrahim Raisi's death, the United States State Department has revealed that Iran had requested assistance, but the U.S. had been unable to provide help, largely due to logistical reasons. The U.S. State Department said Tehran, which has had no diplomatic relations with Washington after the 1979 Islamic Revolution, reached out to the United States after Ebrahim Raisi's chopper crashed in foggy weather on Sunday.
We were asked by the Iranian government for assistance. We said that we would be willing to assist. It's something that we would do with respect to any government in this situation. Ultimately, largely for logistical reasons, we weren't able to provide that assistance.
The crash came days after the United States and Iran reportedly held clandestine talks in Oman aimed at improving regional stability. The U.S. administration's condolences for Raisi were described as standard and not showing support. The U.S. said that Raisi had, quote, blood on his hands as he presided over mass executions of political prisoners and cracked down on protests by women.
Ebrahim Raisi was a brutal participant in the repression of the Iranian people for nearly 4 decades. He was involved in numerous horrific human rights abuses, including playing a key role in the extrajudicial killing of thousands of political prisoners in 1988. Some of the worst human rights abuses occurred during his tenure as president, especially the human rights abuses against the women and girls of Iran. That said, we regret any loss of life.
Meanwhile, former Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif has blamed U.S. sanctions on aviation parts for the crash of the helicopter that killed the country's president. In an interview to state media, he said sanctions compromised Iran's access to updated aircraft and parts. The Pentagon has denied any U.S. role in Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi's helicopter crash, indicating that the U.S. has not changed its stance on Iran.
The United States had no part to play in that crash, and that's a fact, plain and simple.
Now let's move our gaze to the battlefields of Ukraine, where Russia claims to have made fresh inroads in Kharkiv as it continues to pound other areas of Ukraine. Kyiv says it attacked Russia's military targets over the past 24 hours. The Russian Defense Ministry says its forces are now in total control of a settlement in the Luhansk area in eastern Ukraine, while strikes continue in Kharkiv. At least 7 people have been injured in northeastern city of Kharkiv due to Russia's strikes, which hit transport infrastructure. Over 25 trucks have been damaged, along with buses and other vehicles, according to regional governor. Meanwhile, Russia says that it has also repelled the Ukrainian army's counterattacks in multiple directions in the last 24 hours as well, while it also targeted Ukrainian Army electronic warfare base stations, ammunition depots, and air defense systems as well. On the other hand, Ukrainian forces say that they shot down 28 out of 29 drones used by Russian forces in an overnight attack on 7 regions. Russia has stepped up drone and missile attacks around Ukraine this spring, dealing significant damage to its emergency infrastructure. Ukrainian army also claims to have destroyed a key Russian warship in the Black Sea in an overnight attack. However, Kyiv has not revealed much details about that attack, allegedly carried out on the Russian ship Kovornovets. Although a precise location has not been established, the alleged attack most likely occurred off the coast of occupied Crimea, where a large portion of the Russian Navy's Black Sea Fleet is currently based. Russia has denied that any such attack happened. Amidst an intensified Russian onslaught, President Zelensky says Western allies are taking too long to make decisions on military support for Ukraine. The reason for which the Kremlin says is because Ukrainian forces are in an extremely unfavorable situation on the front lines.
Had we received Patriots in the beginning when there were very few drones operational, when they were using missiles, and had they seen the missiles are being shot down, they would have understood that it was pointless to target energy infrastructure on a massive scale. There would not have been any blackouts. More importantly, we would have been able to protect the majority of our power generating capacity, but we have what we have. One big step forward, but before that 2 steps back. But we need to change the paradigm a bit, you see.
Now, as the Russia-Ukraine war drags on, Moldova's response to the Ukrainian refugee crisis has been a testament of the nation's resilience and humanity. The country has shown that even in times of adversity, it stands ready to help those in need. Our principal diplomatic correspondent, Don Sybil, brings you a ground report from Chisinau.
This building, which is part of Moldova's Technical University, is a refugee center for many Ukrainians for 2 years now. A home for 30-year-old Anastasia, who came from Ukraine's Odessa region when the war in the country started in 2022. She stays here with her grandmother Elena, as both share one room, which has an attached bathroom. Anastasia, speaking to WION, thanked Moldovan society for opening their arms and welcoming them.
How does she feel being in Moldova?
She's okay, but of course she misses her home.
For Elena, the wrinkles on her face tell a story of longing, grief and pain. 13-year-old Zer came to Moldova 2 years ago, and this is his home now. The place features a small community kitchen. Along the corridors, posters from various humanitarian organizations like the World Food Programme, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Helpage, and humanitarian assistance for the Ukrainian refugees are prominently displayed. Moldova, despite being one of Europe's smallest countries, has shown remarkable hospitality in hosting Ukrainian refugees since the onset of the conflict. Moldova hosts more Ukrainian refugees per capita than any other country. This massive influx of refugees has posed a significant challenge for Moldova, a country with limited resources, but it has not stopped them from opening their doors for many like Anastasia, Alina, and Zair.
The story of Anastasia and Yelena are stories of the Ukrainians who have found refuge in neighboring countries like Moldova. Moldova, of course, has opened its heart as well. It's a small country, but that hasn't stopped it from opening its heart to the people of Ukraine as the crisis continues. But essentially, for them, it's a home away from home, and they are looking for a brighter future, even as the Moldovan government provides them support. Siddhant Sibal for WION in Moldova.
After about 5 weeks into the Trump hush money trial, prosecutors have rested their case against the former president. The case has been handed over to the defense before being closed by next week. Our next report tells you all about that contentious day, which was yesterday, and the trial in general.
Prosecutors in the first ever criminal trial of a former U.S. president rested their case on Monday after defense attorneys finished an intense cross-examination of the state's star witness, Donald Trump's one-time personal lawyer, Michael Cohen. Cohen admitted to stealing money from Trump's company, pocketing funds owed to a tech firm unconnected to Trump's trial. The admission by Cohen could chip away at his credibility with jurors. Cohen described the act as a form of self-help, claiming he did it because he was upset about his annual bonus being cut, despite his fronting $130,000 of his own money to buy the silence of porn star Stormy Daniels, who alleged to have a 2006 sexual encounter with Trump. Trump is charged with falsifying business records to cover up the payment ahead of the 2016 election. He has pleaded not guilty and denies ever having sex with her. Cohen was the final and most important witness for New York prosecutors, as they seek to convince a jury that Trump broke the law by covering up the payment to Daniels. But as a convicted felon and admitted liar, jurors may be skeptical of Cohen's account. Prosecutors have tried to shore up his testimony with documentary evidence, while Trump's lawyers have tried to undermine Cohen's credibility through his cross-examination. Meanwhile, it is still unclear whether Trump himself will take the witness stand.
It's always risky to testify in a criminal case as a defendant.
Nima Rahmani is a former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers.
Trump has testified twice before. First in the Jean Carroll defamation case, the second case, and of course in the New York civil fraud case. And both times it cost him dearly. In a case like this, when it really comes down to the defendant's credibility, whether the affair happened and whether the payments were actually for legal expenses as opposed to reimbursement for hush money, all eyes will be on Donald Trump, not just in the courtroom, but across America.
Trump's attorneys called their first witness after Cohen finished. At the outset of Monday's session, the judge said he expected the prosecution and the defense to wrap up their presentations this week and make their closing arguments next week, followed by jury deliberations.
Iran-born director Ali Abbasi's much-anticipated drama The Apprentice, which premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, now is facing legal threats from former President Donald Trump's campaign team. The movie, which received an 8-minute standing ovation at the French festival, explores Donald Trump's rise to power in 1980s America. According to various reports, the film features unflattering and controversial scenes, including an alleged sexual assault on his first wife, Ivana. The movie also shows Trump taking amphetamine pills, having surgery to correct a bald patch on his head, and undergoing liposuction. Stephen Chug, the chief spokesperson for the Trump presidential campaign, slammed the film and said, quote, "We will be filing a lawsuit to address the blatantly false assertions from these pretend filmmakers." The Apprentice is premiering at the Cannes Festival at a time when Trump is once again aiming to run for president. The film is looking for a domestic distribution deal at this point. U.S. stocks traded mostly higher on Monday. That surge was driven by a significant rally in NVIDIA shares. NVIDIA's stocks jumped nearly 3% ahead of its first quarter earning report scheduled for Wednesday. Investors are highly optimistic and expecting the company to report quarterly sales of nearly $25 billion, a dramatic increase from the $6.5 billion revenue in the same quarter last year. NVIDIA's impressive performance contributed to the NASDAQ 100, outperforming other major indices. This rise contrasts with JP Morgan's stock, which fell 4% after CEO Jamie Dimon's cautious remarks about the economy and the company's stock buyback plans. The anticipation around NVIDIA's earnings underscores the market's focus on tech sector growth and AI advancements. As demand for AI technology surges, NVIDIA is set to capitalize on this trend, driving significant revenue and market share growth as well. The anticipation around NVIDIA's earnings underscores the market's focus on tech sector growth and AI advancement, highlighting media's pivotal role in the industry's future. NVIDIA's growth is largely fueled by its strategic positioning in the artificial intelligence sector. The company advanced G+ and essential for AI development, machine learning, and data centers, making it a critical player in the AI race. Time for a short break. When we come back, scientists have yet again made a concerning discovery regarding climate change. We'll tell you about the, quote, doomsday glacier, which could lead to climate catastrophe worse than we've ever seen before.
Shock and panic in the Democratic Republic of Congo as the army foils a coup attempt and arrests 50 people, including 3 Americans. After Niger, newly elected Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko now calls for an end to French occupation and even criticizes the presence of the French military in the West African nation. And the kora, a Western African stringed instrument, makes a resounding return thanks to Gambian artist Sona Jorbate, Wild of Africa, at these times only on WION.